My name is Duke, and pretty sure you don't know who I am, but I met you one time. I think it was at the 25th anniversary of Mike Ferry, and I met you in the hallway,
Yeah.
and you were so nice to me. You were so kind, and you invited me to go to Apple Valley and have lunch with you. And you're just a tremendous man, and I just have so much respect for you. Just wanted to thank you. I'll never forget that.
Well, thank
Very,
you.
So,
you're a
wait,
very
wait, wait,
kind
wait,
man.
wait. Hey, Duke,
Yes, sir.
he is that kind of guy, but did you ever go to Apple Valley and buy him lunch? Because that would have really changed the economics of the valley.
No, I never did.
Oh, man.
But you're a tremendous man, and you know, so exciting to have you on today, sir.
Thank you. I am more interested in real estate today than I was 10, 15, 20 years ago because of what's going on today. And I know Neil is too, and I know Mike Ferry is too. It's interesting that the leadership roles in North America get more involved with real estate when little changes come. They get more passionate about it, more involved. Why? Because they have the experience and they know what good things are available for you, right?
Well, it took no skills, almost no skills, to get a listing sold in the last 3 or 4 years. You agree with that thought, Tony?
100%.
Yeah, almost no skills. Took some skills to get the listing, but almost no skills to get it sold. So therefore, we were losing listings to aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, et cetera, et cetera. Now's our time. Because nobody that needs to sell a home, has to sell a home, is going to use somebody that's just got their real estate license. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. So
Good
great.
stuff. So, all right. Very good. Here we go. So, Mastermind with Neil Schwartz, and our special guest, Tony Smith, is with us. Please help me unmute yourselves and welcome Tony Smith to our group today.
Yeah, Tony.
Hey,
All right.
guys.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Thank you, guys. No, thank you.
Tony, I was around when you got started in this and came to Mike Ferry, and Mike had shared a few stories about you, and then you started with that whole long, impressive prospecting that you did. How many days was the streak?
Well, I didn't start with it. I'll tell you that. In the beginning, I floundered with it like everyone else, or a lot of people do. I floundered for the first several years, and I'll never forget. I was in making decent money. I was in a mastermind group in 2001. Okay, and the reason it leaves a mark is because 9/11 and all those things that happened. But I was in a mastermind group, and we were sitting doing a little hot seat discussion with some of us, and these are great producers, and we got to that 100 transaction mark and some of those things, but I was sitting in the room and I was watching as people went around the hot set, and I was honestly getting madder and madder. I was sitting there going, these people have all blown right by me. Like, I started with many of these people, and I watched this happen. I was going, these people all blew by me in production and earnings and all this stuff. And I was like, that's enough of this stuff. And I remember walking out of that meeting mad. I mean, literally mad at myself for some of the inconsistencies. And so really that was a marker. But at that point, I just made a decision that I wasn't going to miss, and I wasn't going to give it a margin. Like, there's a book Jack Canfield wrote, Success Principles. And one of the chapters, excuse the little piece of language, was, 100% is a breeze, 99% is a bitch. Okay. And that chapter went on to say there's some things in our life that we should strive for 100%, because that 1% causes so much problem in our life. It's like, what if only 99% of the planes landed safely today?
Right.
Would we like to have 400 plane crashes today? Right? What if only 99% of the mail well, that's probably true. 99% of the mail makes it to your mailbox. But this chapter went on, and it hit me pretty hard at that point, saying, you know what? There are some things that if it's our job and we're supposed to do it, shouldn't we strive for 100% and stop playing around with this idea, I will unless this happens or that happens, or I don't feel right, or the dog ate my homework. And it just becomes this whole series, this whole lineage of all these reasons why I didn't do it today. And I just remember plain as day, as I wrote a list, okay? And I made this list that said there are 3 acceptable reasons that I won't do prospecting. Okay. And I wrote it and I was very tough. Okay. Number one, somebody in my house is hurt or bleeding. Okay. If somebody, my kids or my wife or somebody's hurt or bleeding, I would stop and fine. Right. Number two, I'm physically ill to the point that I can't get out of bed. Okay. And then number three is if Mike Ferry called me and demanded me to do something. Okay. Guess what? None of those three things happened for 3,671 days.
So to be clear, it's 3,671 scheduled prospecting days.
Scheduled days. So every year, sit down with the calendar, mark out. It was somewhere between 250 and 265 days, depending on what I was doing that year, if I had holidays or whatever. And it was around 200, say 250 days, planned, set up in advance, scheduled, marked on the calendar. I'm going to do it.
And you did.
I did. Yeah.
And you did. That's a very defining thing. That was so fantastic. Very, very good. So most agents on this probably don't know your background on how the car stopped in Apple Valley and you ended up there. You want to share a little bit of that?
Yeah. So, like most people, real estate was not my preferred choice. I was sitting at my desk in high school going, man, I'm going to be a realtor one day. Right. That's most people. Right. We get into this thing in some weird fashion. I was going to be a football player that made it to the pros. And that was my belief in high school. So I went to college at a little college in Montana and thought that was the path. After about 6 weeks, I made it onto the team and into the program. But after about 6 or 8 weeks, watching people run by me faster, catch better, do all these things, I go, I'm not going to make it into the pros. Okay. So I knew. And I decided, on a break at this first summer break to first year of college to make a little road trip to California and go see the beach for the first time in my life. And so I hopped in my little Ford pickup with one door wired shut and headed off to California. And found my way to Apple Valley, California. In those days, there was no way to know where you were really, right? So I thought I was really close to San Diego at that point. So I literally stopped in Apple Valley and I was very low on funds. So I realized that when I didn't have enough money to really enjoy myself, my mind says I'm going to get a job for a couple of days and make a few bucks and continue my vacation.
Sure.
Well, the job turned into me staying there for the rest of my adult life. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listing and selling houses and doing all the stuff. So how did you get into real estate? I mean, Apple Valley isn't well, I don't want to disparage it.
No, go ahead. Mike says he'll drive by and he's never going to stop. In fact, I think he's waved out the window a couple of times. And actually, I think he always asks me, hey, Tony, I'm waving. Guess which finger? I've heard that before, right?
Isn't Roy Rogers and Dale Evans, didn't they have a ranch there?
That was the home of them. I actually sold their house. So that was the claim to fame for Apple Valley is Roy Rogers' home place. And
by the way, Tony, most people on here don't even know who Roy Rogers and Dale Evans is. So
it's scary.
let's not spend a lot of time with that.
Yeah. Google it later. Don't worry about it now, right? But yeah, so I went to work in a restaurant there, and one of the part owners of the restaurant was a big real estate developer, huge developer in town. He developed most of Apple Valley. We hit it off because we both had, out in the nature kind of backgrounds. And he said, why don't you come to work for me doing maintenance on all my buildings that I own? So I took a job doing maintenance. I was there a couple months and he said, the rule is if anybody that works for me, I don't care from the guy that sweeps the floors to my top salesman has to get a real estate license. So I got a real estate license because that was required to keep my maintenance job. So I got that license. That man subsequently got cancer and died. And I was left without a job, and all of his kids I became good friends with. Well, they inherited some of the real estate and I had a real estate license. So I walked across the street to a local real estate office and said, hey, I guess I'm a realtor. And that's how I became a real estate agent. Yeah.
And one of the most successful. So did you meet Mike right away or what was the process?
No, I messed around for a couple of years. My broker, the second best thing that happened to me was my broker was it was a family-owned Century 21 Fairway. Okay, family-owned. Mom Charlotte Phillips was the first female to own a Century 21 franchise. And so I went to work for that company. Well, the kids inherited it, and Janie Phillips was my broker for almost my entire career. 2 years in, she said, "Come to my office, sit down." She said, "You have a choice, and you're going to make that choice right now. Either you come with me and see this guy, Mike Ferry, or you don't work here anymore."
Wow.
So, well, why don't I work here anymore? And she said, "Well, you're a lousy agent. You don't call your clients back. You don't produce any real business for the company. You literally are probably one of the worst agents I've ever met in my life." And it was true. It was true. Okay. And I don't know why she put that time into me and she said, do that. She should have just fired me. Okay. But she took me there and I sat in the back row of a Mike Ferry event and she sat right beside me and basically stared a hole in the side of my head for 3 days. And after about 2 hours, I was done. I knew it was Mike Ferry. Okay. And I just, from that moment on, I did put blinders on. I didn't look for another real estate company. And I never looked for any other magic, anything. I said, this guy makes sense. This brokerage makes sense. Go do your job. And that's why.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great story. So over the next how many years, how many transactions?
Yeah, so I did a little count. I finally had people back in the office do a little count. It was 3,250. So I'd done 3,250 transactions.
Over what period of time?
I started in 1989 and I officially haven't sold a house for 2 years. So whatever that is, 31 years or something. Yeah.
And gross, well, the sales prices aren't that big.
Yeah, I haven't done the math on that. You know, when I started, average sales price was about 75,000, something like that. And then today it's 400, but you know,
Right.
That's where it is.
So 3,200 deals at $5,000 a deal.
Yeah, probably over the life of it. Yeah.
That's $15 million, my friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you ever think about that? $15 million gross?
Well, I think about it, and then you don't have to look far, and you have one conversation with Karen Bernardi, and she made $80 million selling houses. You go, right? Like, who cares, right? Like,
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So that took you to do some work for Mike. So you kind of got off the beaten path and went to the corporate. You went to the dark side, to the corporate side.
Yeah, getting used to it still.
So bring us up to speed what you're doing today, and then we can talk on some other stuff.
Yeah, actively vice president of the company right now. I took on this role 2 years ago. Had been coaching for Mike for 17 years and speaking for him for like 7 years at that point. And Mike said, "Why don't you come here and help at this level?" So he's a good salesman, and yeah, it's corporate, and I do at times miss sales. You know, I drive back to Apple Valley and drive by some for sale signs and go, "Yeah, that could have been mine.
That could have been me.
Yeah,
That could have been me."
But no, I am really in this for what we're doing right now. Okay, the work that you do all the time and the work that I'm trying to do now is, I feel a really strong obligation to help the real estate community. So,
well, you have done a fabulous job in helping 3,600 families. Clearly, and you know what you're doing when it comes to that. And now coaching and training real estate agents to help them to the next level. And it's never been more needed than it is right now.
Yeah.
Because unless the agents get the point, from my perspective, and this is why I'm bringing on Mike and bringing you out and hammering all the time, talking about 5-5-10s, getting them to do what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it. So talk to us a little bit about that. What goes into making a Tony Smith, my friend? Okay.
yeah,
You know, you're not bionic. They didn't build you like Lee Majors. You know, you're not the $6 million man. I'm dating myself again. But what makes Tony Smith? Because we got to clone you a little bit. You know, and right now we've got about 90 people here that would love to hear what makes you you.
Well, there's 3 traits of a great salesperson that I think about all the time. And I'll be completely honest. When I started, I only had one of the traits. So don't be discouraged by this because these traits can be developed. Okay.
Okay.
And for people that become great salespeople, number 1 is an unwavering burning desire. Okay. Unwavering burning desire. I did not have that. I became very complacent very early, multiple times in my early career. Okay. A strong work ethic. I did have that. Okay. I did have work ethic. Okay.
Okay.
But I was born with work ethic. Many people were not, right? And then a salesperson personality. I clearly did not have that.
You can learn that? You
Yeah.
believe that?
Yep. I believe I have. Like I have learned this. Okay. So know something about me. When it came to, they say, oh, prospecting. I can't be more honest with you. I was the guy that would literally get ill before calls. Like not
Wow.
sort of ill, literally get ill before calls.
Wow.
Okay. I was also the guy with my wife at that time. I would call her and say, honey, my car's broken. Would you call the mechanic? I don't want to talk to him. Like I was the guy that wouldn't even call the mechanic to get my car fixed. I would ask her to do it because I didn't want to deal with it.
Wow.
I didn't even want to have that conversation. So you can learn these traits. But if you're missing work ethic, if you're missing burning desire, and if you're missing a salesperson personality, it sure makes it hard to become a great agent.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So you have that clearly. How did you build the other 2? The work ethic, where'd that come from? You didn't need to learn it. That's a family thing?
I was born with that. Yeah. My father, you think about little things that you get and some of the gifts you were given. My father he's still alive, has incredible work ethic. And, he even to a point where it was like, a little on the extreme side, like he'd say, Tony, you know what sleep is, right? And I go, well, no, it's sleep. And he'd go, well, it's little slices of death. And, you think about him, because he would sleep 2 or 3 hours a night and he worked, like he just was a worker. And so he had those references. So you grow up in the Midwest in Montana, you have work ethic. So you get up, you show up, you go to work. So I was lucky in that regard, where a big portion of the world today honestly has to work on that. They don't have that. Okay. But when you talk about a salesperson personality, for me, I just knew there was one path. Learn what to say in every selling situation, so you can finally lighten up, right? And have some fun and have fun with people and have a salesperson personality. But if you don't know what to say in every selling situation, you get locked up. And if you're locked up, you can't have that personality.
Okay. All right. However, in the beginning, when you prospected, because this is where we run into some issues here, people want to prospect before they want to learn the scripts and dialogues and before they know the product. They don't preview. Okay, because they think they're supposed to prospect all the time. You don't want to confuse them with that. How did you learn the product? How did you learn the scripts and dialogues?
So first of all, I was very clear that I was never going to prospect if I didn't learn the scripts, because I was so backwards in that. So many people have such a head start on what I had then, that I knew that if I didn't learn what to say, that actually making those 20 or 30 contacts a day was going to be impossible for me.
But how did you know that? Somebody told you, or it was intuitive?
No, one of the first thing Mike Ferry's told us. He said, professionals practice, amateurs don't. And I connected with that because I wanted to be a professional athlete, and I clearly was not, but I understood practice.
Okay.
I understood that. And I understood what he said, professionals practice, amateurs don't. That was not even a second thought for me. And I said, okay, so practice. So you just set up, and I immediately set up for 2 hours of practice a day.
2 hours?
Yep.
In the beginning?
Yep. 1 hour every morning working on objection handlers and the prospecting scripts, and 1 hour every afternoon working on the presentation and the closing that goes with that.
Right. Okay. And you did that by setting up role play partners and videotaping yourself and
Well, I was pretty shy then too, so I wasn't the type that went out and got role play partners either. I didn't want to be exposed for that in the beginning, so I did figure out that you could practice, and there was a lot of these things you could do yourself. I set a full-length mirror up in my office. Back in those days, you used to have these old recording devices with a cassette tape. I bought a cassette recorder and plugged that tape in. big old video cameras that were this big. And I said, I'm willing to go do this work myself until I get good enough to have a role play partner. So I put a video camera up and a tape recorder on and stood in front of a mirror and chanted the scripts over and over and over and over and over again.
And it's hard to believe that you were that shy.
Oh, yeah. Unbelievable.
Fantastic. So you learn the scripts and dialogues, a couple hours a day. What about previewing property and going out? I mean,
It's almost a lost art. I swear,
Yeah.
it's almost a lost art. You know, you think
so how did you do it? How did you get to do that? At the time you did it and I did it,
Mhm.
there was no computer online stuff. So, you know, the agents today want to cheat. They don't want to go see it.
Well,
So
that's
can I
part-
see
yeah.
30 video? Can I see 30 pictures on the MLS? It's not the same, is it?
Not the same. It's not the same.
same.
You can watch a MTV video of a music, and then you can go to a live concert, and they are not the same.
That's a
Okay?
great analogy. Thank you.
Yeah. So
That's great.
we were blessed because we didn't have that option. Mike said preview property, and I'm going to tell you that when as soon as I decided that I was going to choose one leader and I was going to choose one company, this whole business about changing companies every 30 seconds. Okay, you watch agents change companies every 30 seconds, and they do 10 deals a year for an entire career. Settle down somewhere and go make some money. You're in the right spot. Okay, right? So I just said that I have one master and I have one company, and that was it. I just took those off the table. Okay.
Blind faith.
So there was a blind faith. And then Mike said preview property. So from that moment on, when he said something, not that I did it automatically, but I accepted it as true. And so I accepted it. And then I said, I got to preview property. In those days, we used to wait for the MLS book to come, right? So you'd sit around and wait for the MLS book, and every 2 weeks I'd get that money. I would start laying out these properties. I'd go preview, and I would set it all up and go out and preview for 30 minutes to an hour every afternoon.
That's great. Today we can plug it into the computer, hit map it, and off we go. And we had the books. I'm so ancient. I even had the 2-ring binder. We didn't have a book yet.
It's so great. So great. But these are dangers. You know, technology has a lot of advantages, and we should use the technology, you know, DocuSign and all these things. These are incredible advantages. But if you don't identify a few places where technology is actually crippling your career, you have to identify a few of those spots. And that is one of them, is there's a craft involved. There is no way around you ultimately getting face-to-face with people for the most part. Okay, yes, you can do it virtually more, and I get it, but the people still demand it. You guys remember, I remember plain as day when I got this notice on email that said the car sales process is changing forever at the end of this year. And it said dealerships will be gone by the end of this, like 1991 or 2. It said car dealerships will be gone forever. You're going to buy your car straight from the factory. And I was looking, I go, wow, I don't know how that's going to work out, but you're going to go online, you're going to find your car, buy it, and it's going to show up from the factory. Well, are there still car dealerships today?
More than ever.
Because you still have to go kick the tires in a car. We can't spend 75, 80 grand, 100 grand for a car. You can't go spend that money without seeing it. So there is no way to remove yourself from the interface with people.
Right.
And I would stop thinking, at least in our career, maybe there'll be robots someday, but for the next 30 years, there's no way to remove yourself from that interface from people. At some point, you got to get good at it.
Yeah.
And previewing properties is one way, because sometimes there's a homeowner there and you have to talk to them.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're in a shifting market.
Yep.
Things are not, let me rephrase that. The market has shifted.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. It's not shifting, it's shifted. And, you know, we have a number of agents on here that, some are great agents that do tons and tons of deals, and they're making their little changes, et cetera, et cetera. But how do you help somebody that is at 3 to 5 transactions,
Mhm.
and to be relevant, to be significant, they need to get to 25. Okay, over the next 2 or 3 years, because otherwise, at least in Southern California, if you're not making a couple $100,000 a year, you can't survive. It's at 9% inflation, 9%. The last time we had 9% was like 1980. You know, that's actually the year I bought my first Mercedes.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got a diesel Mercedes. It was 1980. But what are you gonna do? What do you suggest, Tony?
Yeah, and
what do you suggest?
The beautiful part of it, and the beautiful part of Mike Ferry and what he does is this: many of the same things that apply for somebody that's doing 3 or 4 deals a year that needs to get to 25. The people that are doing 25 that need to get to 50, the same things apply. Okay, and that is the beauty of it, is it's just scalable. And so if I don't have a clear-cut way to generate leads, then I'm never going to get anywhere production-wise. And I don't, if you're doing 3 deals and you don't have a clear-cut way that you're going to get your leads going forward, then you're not getting to 25, right?
Okay.
The single most important profitable thing you'll ever do in real estate is the presentation. It's the most important, it's the most profitable activity you'll ever be involved in the rest of your career, is the presentation. You in front of a seller presenting and getting a listing contract signed. It is the most profitable, and there's no way out of it. You can't skip that piece. So in my mind, I need to master where I'm going to get paid the most. So many agents jump in and go, gosh, Neil, could you do more advertising? I need more leads. Could you do more stuff with more leads? How do I get more leads? Oh, prospecting. They spend this much time fighting with the idea of more leads and this much time working on their presentation. Well, what good are all the leads if you get in front of somebody and botch it? But there's
right.
Give me thousands of them and I go screw them all up. Like, what is that? So I would ask you to go on a 90-day, probably a 90-day, very, very aggressive presentation improvement program.
Okay.
I would go and I would do things like, shake hands with Neil and say, hey, grade me on my handshake. How's my eye contact? How's my smile? Can I smile naturally, or does this look phony to you? Here, I'm going to walk in the house. Thank you so much for having me over. I'm so excited about getting your home on the market and getting it sold. Do you mind if I take a quick look at the home? Could you set up at the kitchen table? I'll be back in like 3 minutes, and I am thrilled to death to present to you this afternoon. Should you have that critiqued?
Absolutely. Should
you critique getting your materials out of your briefcase so you don't look weird? Maybe you should sit and learn how to get take the materials out of the folder, 2 pens. Sellers, pens, you guys ever lose a pen? Oh my God, I don't have my, hold on, pen. You know how weird that is on a presentation? So maybe it comes down to you making sure you get your 2, hey, I've got 2 pens, we're gonna need that in a minute. I've got the same package that I delivered, great, I've got the comps, I've got everything that we need. Should you maybe refine that part of your presentation?
Okay, polish it up.
Mike Ferry wrote the rest of it, so just learn how to deliver that really well. Okay.
Okay, good.
So I would get the presentation locked down. I would decide. So many people hopscotch around sources of business all the time that they never get good in any of them. They hopscotch so much, like what's the flavor of the month for generating business, right? And they hopscotch so often that they should never expect to get much from it because of how light they're in the game. I would ask you to commit to 3 or 4 methods of generating business. And I mean, commit for the next 6 to 9 months without wavering. Okay, without wavering.
Okay.
Like you said, 5-5-10s, the just listed, just sold, expireds. Hey guys, expireds. It's coming full circle.
Right.
Okay, there's several thousand listings in Los Angeles County that the agent will not talk to the seller again because he doesn't know what to say, or she doesn't know what to say. Those are going to expire.
If it doesn't sell in 7 days, they're dead.
Yep. Don't know what to say, right? So I would decide 3 or 4, go to our report. Neil's probably given it to you. We got 62 ways to find business. Pick 4 or 5 of them, and please master 3 or 4 or 5 of them and stick to it. Okay. What's fun about it is when I look at those sources of business, and I mean, there's some that are, we listed everything, and there's some that we don't recommend, right? Some that are very expensive, some that are out there. But when I see every source, I can name an agent on every one of those 62 sources that makes $100,000 a year in that one source. Like I can name an agent that makes $100,000 a year from social media. It's a rare bird, but I know somebody that does. I know somebody that makes $100,000 a year from probates. I know somebody that makes 100 grand a year from just listed, just sold. So it's less about the source and more about the commitment and the passion to stick with the source. And this is the problem is, I tried it for 4 days and that doesn't work.
Right.
You're going to have a long, tedious career that way.
That's great advice. Absolutely. Presentation, hopscotching, clear-cut way to get your leads. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you can think of for our group today?
Yeah, we're at a spot where there's just a couple things that's just relevant today, the shift in the market, okay? The chatter out here is going to get big and loud for the next 18 months. And the chatter out here is going to get big, loud, and it's not going to be positive, okay? If we are stronger here than our competitors, we win. So I'd ask everyone to recommit to a stronger morning mindset routine that matches the current environment. And I mean, get rid of some of the negative. Hey, you guys remember affirmations? You guys remember what those are? You should try those on for size again. Okay, they work, right? You remember doing a little gratitude journal every day? It works, okay? I would make sure that I'm very protected here because the noise is going to get really loud out there.
Very loud.
So if
already.
I'm here,
Yeah.
right? The market does not determine if you hit your goals. It does not. What goes on out there has nothing to do whether you hit your goals. All it does is show you what you need to do to hit your goals. It doesn't affect whether you take your listings and make your sales. All it does is point you in what you have to do it. Now, here's the caveat to that, is what it tells you does not matter if you like it or not. Okay, it may tell you that you have to prospect 3 hours a day. It doesn't care if you like it. You have to want the goals more than the message that's going on.
Got it.
So the idea is to protect your mind. Okay. Second, I would literally start making sure that my activities in a day revolve around getting a listing. And I mean, at the end of the day, did I spend the majority of my day centered around listing properties? And I need to know that, from practice to role play to prospecting to lead follow-up to previewing property, was the majority of my day spent around getting listings. And I would measure that, like I would be very, very critical on that with myself daily for the next 6, 8, 9, 10 months. Because if it is, you'll get the listings.
Tony, fabulous stuff. Are you willing to take a couple questions right now? You have a little bit of time?
Please, I've got time till 1.
All right. Matab, did you have a question for Tony?
I did, Tony. So great to see you. I'm sorry I'm in the car because I was door knocking and now I'm going on a couple of previews of for sale by owners. That's why I'm not showing my face.
I love it.
Burning desire. I believe I'm lacking that. I have the work ethic and I have a sales background, but I think I'm lacking the burning desire. How did you come about to it? How did you create it? Where did it come from?
This is a great thing. And you hear all these points from Mike all the time. And many times we take them for granted, right? Where are the next 10 places I want to go? Put them in order. What are the next 10 things I want to have? Put them in order. What are the next 10 things I want to do? Put them in order. Okay.
Okay.
We often hear that and we take it for granted. We go, yeah, sounds good. So we have to do that and then constantly be working on number 1, 2, and 3 on each list. What's the very next thing I'm going to do? What's the very next place I'm going to go? What's the very next thing I'm going to have? Okay. And then secondly, for you, because I've known you a long time, okay, Matab,
Please.
is I would ask you at the beginning of every month to have something flash up on your phone or your computer that reminds you at the beginning of every month for you to decide specifically, and I mean specifically, what am I going to do for the month of July to defeat complacency?
Okay.
We're going to Superstar Retreat, so that's already covered, right? You're not going to be complacent in July.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
But then August rolls around, you go, what am I going to do in August to defeat complacency? See, it's not a matter of having a lack of answers of how to defeat complacency. It's a matter of not doing the things that actually defeat complacency. So if every month you sat down and said, okay, this month I'm going to go preview the highest end homes in town. I'm going to make a financial commitment. I'm going to go buy that new car. I'm going to reset my goals for the next 5 years. Okay, then September comes around. What am I going to do in September to defeat complacency? So you can chip this down 1 month at a time for the rest of your life.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love it. Good job. Nicole, you got your hand up.
Hey, Nicole.
Hey, Tony, how are you?
God, it's like home week. I get to see everybody that I get to see in a few days. It's awesome.
I know, it's so exciting. And this is much cooler because we're actually in the air conditioning. So anyway, I have a question for you about the importance of using market statistics right now in communicating that this is not a down market or buyer's market, but this is a normal market, because for the last 2 years, the consumers and many agents have gotten confused on what normal is.
Yes.
So how are you using those market stats to convey that message?
Yeah, this is a great point. And you've heard Mike, he's been literally pounding us with this from every angle he knows how to understand bringing the market stats to people. Because if you don't, and all you're doing is listening to the chatter, you interface with a seller or a lead or something, and it all gets negative really fast. And they don't want to hear that. So your job is to bring the stats in a way that are there. And I'll give you like a quick example. So do you know how much your home has gone up in value in the last 3 years?
I've heard like 20 or 30%, right?
Like 30% in the last 3 years. Okay. So
Yeah,
phenomenal increase in equity for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'm guessing that you wish that you'd hit like the absolute tippy top peak pinnacle of the market, don't you? Like when you want to sell, you want to get the pinnacle. Well, if you had
up, what do you
listed this,
think?
yeah, if you had listed this home 6 months ago, do you know how much money you would have left on the table back then?
Wow.
Yeah, like 3%, right? It's gone up 14% this year, in the last, 12 months. And so that means it's gone up 6% in the last 6 months. Now, the issue is the market has shifted. Were you aware that we currently have 5,006 homes on the market when all of last year we only had 1,100? Were you aware of that shift?
Wow, no, I didn't. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And so our inventory has quadrupled in the last 60 days. Okay. So you're not going to get the pinnacle peak. You want to hear the good news? Right now, you're going to get 2% off the peak. Okay. So I'm going to recommend you go ahead and list your property at $469,900. You could have gotten $485,000 for it a couple months ago. However, you're getting basically 22% of the increase in this market that we've had. Is that still good for you?
Yeah, that's still pretty good.
Okay, now here's where it gets a little tough. If you make the wrong decision or wait now, could it start chipping into more of this incredible gain that you've had?
Yeah, I don't want to hit that downward slope. I want to get ahead of it.
Yeah, so what we need to do is price it. This is where we need to be really smart. We price it right so we don't give up these incredible gains. So let's price it at this price, okay? And we're in the right spot. So then you're basically taking advantage.
Thank you.
You see it? So we've got to take real stats, bring them to real people with questions, and deliver them in a way that still has positive, because it's still positive.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Genius.
Okay.
Very cool. Thanks, Tony. Great stuff. Good question. Okay, other questions for Tony? Raise your hand, speak out, or...
Hey, Tony, Miguel Solar here. Quick question, buddy. I love listening to you. We get inspired. We want to set goals. We're going to the retreat. We're going to get inspired. We're going to want to set goals. But a lot of times our goals sound good, and they sound good, but we don't believe in them. So what do you recommend in terms of how to approach that coming into this, into the Mike Ferry seminar next week?
This is really smart. And I've worked with you a while. I know, a little bit of the background, so I know, okay, but there's this duality that we have. We need to stretch, but we also need to achieve. Okay. And so for all of us, we need to really work hard. I believe in our life, if we learn how to become non-complacent, and if we learn how to set and achieve goals, we have mastered what most of the world never does. Okay. So it goes on forever. Okay. But the first thing that you want to think about is, can you find the right balance between stretch goals and goals that you can achieve so you get to check a box once in a while? And if you can find the balance between that, I'm stretching, but I'm also checking the box fairly regularly, then you get enough satisfaction on some of the shorter term stuff, but you stretch. You know, I've watched agents that'll put down $1 million. I want to make $1 million, and they'll put down $1 million as a goal for 10 straight years in a row. Okay. And they fall short for 10 years in a row. And then I watch an agent that says, okay, I made 650. If I could take it to 750 next year, and they take a more realistic approach to it, they break through $1 million in 4 or 5 years. So sometimes just the approach we use to setting goals slows us down. Does it make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what I'd have you do, and just knowing you real well, I'd have you, you're going to get fired up with a couple things, and I want you to bring those home and put them to work. Okay, but then I would say, okay, I need to get in a pathway of achieving some shorter term goals more regularly. So what does that mean? Here's an example. What is the most listings you've ever taken in a month?
8, 7.
Okay, 7. So what month are you going to break through 8? It may not be July. Like we go July, I got a retreat, whatever. Is August the month? And I would lock into breaking through from 7 to 8.
Got it.
And you do that, you go, wow, I just had my best listing taken month ever. Yes. And I'm going to break through this incredible goal of making $1 gazillion, whatever it is. You see it?
I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would find the balance between short and long-term goals.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great question, Miguel. Thank you, Tony. Excellent way to put that together. Other questions for Tony Smith? Come on. He's shy.
I have a question.
You're shyer. Go
I
ahead.
have a
Tess.
question.
Tess?
Thank you, Tony. So you talked about to learn how to do a scalable business, meaning that you have to target the sources that you have. Can you show me how would you, I know, first of all, I remember this when I used to do short sales, and you were the one who actually taught me to get out of that and really perfected the expireds. So would you agree that you have to look at what your best sources first on this, like 5 sources, and really master? How do you really scale that?
Yeah, so it broke up a little bit. Yeah, so we always do this. We always look at what is producing well and see how much more upside there is. So, we'll ask you to source your business, twice, 3 times, 4 times a year and say, where's my business coming from, right? Is it predictable, duplicatable, and is there upside? We all know, and almost everybody here listening knows how much upside there is in their database.
Right.
Okay. I'm convinced of a couple things. If my lead follow-up is not operating the best way I know how, and if my database, I'm not working at the best way I know how, there isn't much else we should talk about until it is. Because those are the 2 most prominent streams of income. Most of our business comes from lead follow-up, and the majority of our income comes from our database. So if those 2 things are not operating, we shouldn't be messing around too many other places right now, right? I would fix those first. But then, yes, I would do, there's an exercise we do. It's called source plus additions plus action steps. So it'd be like this. Last year, I did 0 deals from expireds. In the second half of this year, I believe with what's going on, I could take 2 listings a month from expireds. So I want to take 6 expired listings in the second half of the year, or 12 expired listings in the second half of the year. In order to do that, I need to do A, B, and C. And we come up with very specific action steps to pull that off. I need to start pulling them daily. I need to practice the script every day again. I need to start calling them at morning, noon, and night again like I used to. And then you do that with every source. Next thing you know, hey, I took 10 deals from my past clients. I believe I can take it to 15. In order to get to 15, I need to do A, B, and C with my past clients, and I'll achieve it. Then it basically comes down to action steps instead of just, basically random goal setting.
Right.
Right? You see it?
Yes.
So look at each of your sources
Thank
and
you
decide
very
where's
much.
the next step.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was great, Tony. Thank you. Excellent.
Tony, I know you're going to be leaving any second now, so I know I just wanted to say thank you. And my 3 takeaways from this today is that I'm going to start working on my presentation.
Good.
I'm going to clean up my work environment for my prospecting and stuff. And I'm going to focus on my 3 perfected lead sources.
That
Thank you
is
so
just-
much.
That is just smart thing to do. It's smart work to do. Excellent.
Tony, one last question.
Sure.
You talked about protecting the mind, and we know how important it is to shut out the negative noise that's coming.
Mhm.
A lot of it's going to come from our peers, our title reps, our loan officers, and most likely our associates, our agents. As opposed to shutting it out versus a rebuttal, what do you suggest? Because we can't just ignore everybody.
Uh-huh.
He's muted.
Tony, hold on. Where's Tony?
Yeah, you're muted, Tony.
There, everybody got muted, I think, to fix that reverberation. So Fred, you're a great title rep, and we've worked together a long time, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
How important is it that we work on our mindset to be strong?
That's critical.
Can I be honest with you?
Absolutely.
I want to spend time with you, but you've been dragging negative stuff into my office. Could you stop?
Bravo. I get it.
And I would have that conversation with people. Okay. Yeah.
Including our peers, sure.
Guys, I got to jump on a coaching call. So
All right.
thank you all.
Tony, thank you. Let's give him a big hand. Unmute yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
Thank you,
excellent.
Tony
Freaking
Smith.
Tony.
See you next
Thanks,
week.
buddy. All right, you bet.
See you in a week.
Hi, everybody. Thank you.
Oh, that was great.
Neil, you're the best. Thank you.
You are Matab, thank you, but I'm not the best.
That was outstanding.
Tony might be the best, but I'm not.
Neil,
Okay. Go ahead.
Can I ask you a quick question? And I think you'll probably give me a similar answer than that Tony might have. I really believe that and I'm going to ask it this way, but I believe that anybody who's looking to take their business from 25 to 50, 50 to 100, or has done one deal or no deals that want to take it to 20 or 25, what are one or two or three steps or action steps that we should be taking to break to that next level?
No matter what the level.
No matter what the level, because I honestly feel for me, 50 plus is going to be the same thing. So yeah, go ahead, fire away.
Well, it's very similar. And I have to tell you, I think he touched on it as it's consistent with what we teach. What a surprise. We learn from them, they learn from us. Really go in and polish up your listing presentation. Okay? I mean, he was serious, whoever you are. And I have this conversation with all of the superstars in the company, and coincidentally with all the brand new agents in the company. It's the same thing. Polish up your listing presentation. The listing presentation that you're going to polish, Miguel, is slightly different than maybe a new agent's listing presentation because they don't have much right now. Well, that's number one. Number two, the scripts and dialogues. Know what to say and how to say it at the highest level. Okay, well, but Neil, I know the scripts and dialogues. Well, maybe, but I'll bet you don't know, you don't have 5 handlers for every script absolutely memorized by personality style. You don't have that. Nobody has that. Don't even take that back. I actually know 2 or 3 agents in our company that's what they work on. Okay, they work on that all the time. So they're able to handle the objection 5 times with 4 different personality styles. So Miguel, that would be the second thing, know what to say and how to say it at a very, very high level. And then the third thing is make sure we haven't been previewing property for the last 3 or 4 years. Okay, we haven't had to. All right, but what did, and I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I'm sure between Robert and I, we could have them in the next hour, how many more listings there are, but let's use what Tony said. So maybe 3 months ago, there was 1,100 listings and today there's 5,000 listings. Okay, well, you couldn't go see the 1,100 because they sold so fast. Now you have 5,000, you have more to see. That 5,000 is going to be 10,000. Miguel, you were in the meeting when I shared with everybody that in 2006 or 7, probably 7, in the multiple listing service that we work in, there was 175,000 properties that were listed for sale in the month of January. Not new listings, but were totally listed, okay? 175,000. As compared to today, there's like 27,000, 30, well, maybe now it's 10,000 more. So it's like 37,000. You've got to see the properties. Those are the three basics. Then if you go on from there, the different sources of business. For the last 3 years, we weren't working expireds. I personally was telling the staff not to work expireds with 2 or 3 exceptions. Now I'm telling every one of you, you better be doing a 5-5-10 every single day. 5-5-10. So those of you that are hanging here, you know what I'm talking about. Those of you new.
Neil, can I share quickly a personal experience?
Sure.
I was stuck in city 1, city 2 deals for straight 3 years. And then it came down to writing the listing presentation every day and videotaping it every day for full 1 year, 356 days. I did not miss one day on that. And it made my listing presentation go from 50% to 80%.
Big difference. And your confidence level, your knowledge, your confidence level, everything. You know, you hear stories like this all the time, Tom. Good job.
And I jumped from 32 deals to 56 deals.
Congratulations. I mean, this is not neurosurgery. This is simple statistics, but most people are not willing to pay the price. It's that simple. Or they don't have the blind faith, which is basically what Tony said it took. His blind faith. Mike says to do it, he does it. You know, Mike says to jump, he wants to know how high. Okay. What did we learn today? Let's go around the room. Let's take a few minutes. What did you guys learn today from Tony? Who wants to go first? Josie, go ahead.
The presentation improvement includes practicing the handshake, the smile, taking the folders out, having the pens. I know, it's me. I'm here at the office.
Who are you close to? Turn them off.
Sorry.
Tell Barry to turn off his system. Oh, it's probably Melissa. Okay. Melissa's running away. Okay. Are you done, Josie?
Sorry?
Are you done sharing?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right. Who else wants to share what they learned today?
Hey, Neil.
Sir.
Yeah.
What's up, Michael?
Yeah, I just thought that he was a master, the way that he handled the script, you know, in regards to when people are kind of uncertain, you know, about the prices and about what is, you know, they don't see the, you know, all the positive news for the last 3 years, how much high they got into their property. And that is a great way. I mean, we always need to learn ways to handle that when we practice. Now, you were saying today, and this is a question for you, that we don't have this inflation since Reagan, I think 1980 or 81, that we don't have this. So that, unfortunately, the media is putting all this negative that we need to be handling every day now. And people are going to say, what about inflation? We have to answer everything. You know, that will happen because people get confused. They don't know what they're facing. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I think it is a possibility, but when everybody says, well, how's inflation is going to affect the marketplace? I don't know. Do you have to list or sell, buy? Do you have to? It's actually, we have the answer to that. I'm curious, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, did you want to buy or sell, or did you need a second home or another investment property? What is it you wanted to do?
Hey, it's Gary.
All right.
How you doing?
Ask a question. Don't tell, Michael. Okay?
Yeah, that's the key. That's the key, the question.
Yeah, ask a question, don't tell. Good. Okay, who else got something they want to share? Tess, go ahead first.
Okay, yeah. He was talking about that, Michael, the charter. we have to overcome the chatter. Anyway, what I've learned here is that what I really like what he said is that market does not determine for me to hit my goal.
That's right.
It's me.
That's right.
In the morning is very important that you have to have a very strong mindset.
Very, very important. Absolutely. Good thought. Who else wanted to? Oh, Noel, go ahead.
Yes, I had a couple points that I thought it was fascinating that of the three that he only on one, a strong work ethic.
Yeah.
And that, I must have been, the broker must have seen that and been like, and put him in front of Mike Ferry, and he got the, so I thought that was fascinating. Neil, you talked about the book, Talent is Overrated, very good book, but that kind of brought that to my attention. And when I went through training, I was a flight attendant at one point, and I went through training, and they took us all to the Drake for a fine dining experience. And this is on Josie's point about the dropping of the pen. They took us all, it was like a 5-hour fine dining experience where, they showed us which forks to use and how to do the wine tasting, because they wanted us to experience what the anticipation was for a passenger that was sitting in first class. And I just think that, and I don't want to toot your own horn, but I have to. I feel like these masterminds are just, it's like a fine dining experience. Listening to these guys every day in this trainings and with Robert and with you, Neil, it really is top shelf as far as what the industry is. You guys are just amazing and the best. And I have the pleasure of kind of training someone right now on the phone, and we were listening to a call, and I was trying to coach her to smile, because they can hear the smile when you're reading your scripts, and I didn't hear it, and then the person had an objection, and she had the objection. She had the script for the objection, and I could hear the excitement, and she started talking a little bit fast because she knew what to say and how to say it. And that is the power in the scripts. And I think that that's what he touched on when he was talking about how when you know the script, you get to play with it, where you get to be excited, you get to bring your own personality in it, because you have that confidence. And we hear it all the time with the guys when you're on open mic. And I just appreciate this opportunity and to be at that level and have that fine dining experience every day. So thanks for bringing Tony. That was awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You can go on for another 45 minutes if you'd like. That was a joke.
And add to Noel, I think knowing your script and knowing your product. Neil, you touched on that with Tony. We used to preview a lot. The one's been long enough in the business. We previewed a lot. We know our product. So your confidence level is much higher when you know your product.
Well, there's no question about it, but a new agent, we're telling new agents to do it, and they don't see it, they don't understand it. But you take anyone that's been in the business for any length of time, over 10, 15 years, they've been previewing property, whether intentionally or unintentionally, and they have a few thousand pieces of property under their belt. Some of us were doing it intentionally, and even today, 50 years later, I can go into the communities I first started, and I can tell you what those floor plans look like. I can't tell you how it's painted, but I can tell you the floor plans. I can tell you about the architecture of the neighborhood. I can tell you all that kind of stuff. That goes a long way to the buyers feeling comfortable and confident with you. I'm telling you, you guys are blowing it when you're not physically previewing property. Stop doing that. Because the guys that physical preview property and know the scripts and dialogues and have a burning desire are going to kick your ass in the next 3 years. You will be out of the business. Okay? I've seen this 50 years. I've seen this cycle, and that's what's going to happen. So get on and do it, or get off and get out of the way, because We're here to run you over if we can. Okay, anybody
said.
else want to follow that?
I love you guys, man. I love this. I love it. I got to tell you though, Neil, I feel like a rookie, but he hit home for me is when he said, the 3 traits. I think I do have a burning desire, but I know for sure I lack in the sales area, but that's why I'm here. I kind of recognized that as soon as I heard you guys, and that's why I joined this company. But I can't wait to get to Mike Ferry. I just love this power of assembly. So I thought it was all great, and I can't wait to see you guys again.
I love it. Okay, good stuff. All right. I don't have anything else to cover. If everybody's said their piece, we are at 1:17. Okay, wait, Eddie, you have something?
Yes.
Eddie, do me a favor.
Yes.
Jump out there, baby.
Okay.
Okay, Neil, stop.
Yes. Okay. So one of the things I learned, it's about the most important, the listing presentation, but also he mentioned something about a 90-day practicing with groups and stuff like that. Where do we find those groups? How do we create those groups? Because one thing it's writing notes right now, and the other thing is taking actually action to it. Because I like the fact that it's not only about practicing the presentation, but it's like actually in person would be nicer, because I like how he said when you do the handshake, are you smiling, stuff like that. I want someone to basically question me, like, oh no, you're not smiling, or you're not doing this, you're not sitting. Because I have this one time when he said bringing 2 pens, I always take 1 pen, and I was like, I never thought of that, and those are things that I actually want to take action, but I want to know where can we create a group like that, or where are those groups so we can practice.
Well, that's a really good question. And actually, we have some of those groups within the company right now that every week they turn in a videotaped presentation. The physical in person is slightly more difficult, but we do that in Robert's in 2 offices a week. I'm in 1 office a week. So, it's easy for us to do those kinds of things. But Eddie, you're going to be at the retreat next week.
Yes.
Okay. I'm always at the front right. And if Mike gives me the right, will give me the seat that he's been giving me for 10 years, I'll be at seat 1. Come up and see me and shake my hand, and we'll do a critique right then and there.
Okay.
All right. Absolutely. And your smile, you have a great smile. All right. So keep smiling, and we'll work through it. And then between Robert and I, we'll set up some more videotapes. Actually, it's really interesting. We ask you to set up the videotapes and we'll critique it. It's interesting how many agents don't take us up on that. Now they might do it once or twice, but they don't. Okay.
Neil,
go ahead.
I got a message, and this is directed at Tyrone. You either modify your dreams or you maximize your skills. And for me, being in the business as long as I've had, I haven't maximized my skills. So it's obvious 1, obvious 2. When you're got downtime, you should be practicing the objection handlers, everything we do with the rapid fire role play. And if I can't call you at 3 a.m. in the morning and you can't recite the listing presentation, what are you doing in your free time?
Boy, Fred,
you should have that listing presentation nailed down. Everyone on this call should have it down.
Fred, is your wife going to be pissed at you when you come back from the retreat?
Hey, you call me at 3 a.m.
and I call you at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Hey,
she's not going to be mad at you.
I'm excited about getting your house on the market. I'm excited about getting it. Boom, just go. That's
or
it.
Maybe I should do it when you and Miguel are bunking together at the retreat, right?
No, this is the first year in a decade we're not bunking together.
No way.
Oh, don't lie, Fred. Just telling you, sneak into the room.
Well, you're on, and dinner's on us.
Oh, shit.
I'm just going to call you at 3 o'clock a.m. All right. I got nothing else. Robert, you still have speaker issues?
Yeah, I'm taking over for Robert right now. So next we have Frank for the next 40 minutes, I want to say. And then after that is Fred or Miguel, and then Eddie, and then Monica, and then we're back at it again at 3:30.
And I can't wait to see all of you next week. You guys rock.
Matab, thank you. We're looking forward to seeing